guys doing today?
Great.
Okay, so just a little, she was talking about a little bit more energy. So I operate much better when you all are engaged. So how you all doing today?
Great.
Okay, I thought this was Latinos. I thought this was Latino. This is not a Latino response that I'm getting over here.
¿Cómo están?
I will get there.
Okay, sorry.
I was adopted by a white family. I didn't know I was Hispanic until I was 17, so you'll have to bear with me. I'm new to this being a Latino thing. Kind of. I think I could always dance though. I could always dance. Alrighty. Okay, so one more time. How are we doing today?
Yeah.
John, what do you think?
No.
Scale of 10, we have like a
7.
7-ish. Okay, I'm gonna give them a 5. So, how you guys doing today?
Yeah.
That was a 7. How you guys doing today? That's better. Now I feel more comfortable and in my environment. Okay. So what did we say? 20 minutes. So.
If I see someone bostezando, how do you say?
Sleeping.
Yeah.
Then we'll cut me off when I'm sleeping. Okay. Good. So the message, again, I never really come with the script. You know, I basically pay attention to what's going on, the conversations that I have along the way, and it kind of takes shape in and of itself because there's a message that's always unique to this group of people. And as I've been paying attention, I'll give you a little background about myself. So as I mentioned before, I was adopted. My adopted father was a bad dude, bad hombre, I think we've heard before. He's a bad hombre. But he was a drug dealer, hurt people for a living, went to prison eventually for attempted murder of myself and my mom when I was 17. And broke my nose 18 times. I just got it fixed like about 5 years ago so I could breathe, and they fixed it. It looks pretty now. But before, when I was growing up, you could see it on this side of my face, this side of my face. It was kind of interesting. But he went to prison when I was 17 for attempted murder. My mom took me out to dinner, and she said, "By the way, he's not your real dad." I was like, "Oh, that's kind of good news. Like, confusing news, but you know, this is not my real dad." And I said, "Well, why didn't you tell me that he wasn't my real father?" And she said, "Because I know your temper. I never raised my hand to this man. I just stepped in front of my mom for you know, every time she was getting beat up, and never raised my hand to him because I thought he was my father." And she said, "If I would have known, or if you would have known, you would have killed him." And I was like, "Absolutely right." You know, because it was a good thing he was in prison when I found out, because we would have had some trouble that day. But so I tell you that story just to get it out there that at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter where you start, right? We all have different backgrounds where we come from, different challenges. I've been around the world several times, you know, been in front of over 1 million people with being blessed by hanging out with Tony Robbins and whatnot. And what I have realized is that we're all the same, right? We have all of this division that's happening right now in our world about us and them, and they're over there, and we're over here, and what we think is right and what they think is right, and we're separating people, and we've got all of these rules. At the end of the day, we're all the same. We're all the same. You know, I think it was Martin Luther King that said he looked forward to a day and age when people could judge each other by the content of their character as opposed to the color of their skin. And I think that if we think about that just for a second, how stupid that is. Right? How we could judge somebody based on the color of their skin, based on who they want to love, based on what sex they may or may not be, all those type of things. It's really interesting to me how, when you actually think about that, whether I came out with light skin, dark skin, that could determine how smart or how much potential that I had in life. That is stupidity. You guys agree with me?
Yes.
Right? It's just stupid. And so as we, you know, again, I'm thinking about, as I was coming here, as I was making this trip, what around being young again, if I was to be able to go back in time, right? I'm 46 now. It just sounds wrong to even say it out loud. I'm 46. Old. But, and to think about the lessons that I've learned to pass on in a way that could help us and help you moving on. One of the things that I learned very early, because I went from just like all of us in life, we take what we know, and we do that. right? As we're entering the world. So whoever your parents are, whatever environment you're in, whether it was Mexico, whether it was the United States, wherever you come from, we're doing what we know. And so what I did, they started using me sort of as a mule for drugs when I was 12 years old. So I was already dealing drugs from the time I was 12 years old. And from that point in time, I became really, really good at fighting because I could take a punch from a full-grown man, obviously, and stop it with my nose several times. But but I became very good at fighting, and so I became a collector, right? It wasn't that he went to prison and all of a sudden I changed. I knew violence, I knew drugs, I knew collecting, I knew those kind of things, and so I went into that area of life. Well, my very first son was born the same day I got stabbed in the chest. I got a scar all the way across my chest. I got shot in the leg. And there was this thing that happened. I would get beat up so bad that my adopted father would put me, in a bedroom, and until my face would heal. And while I was in there, I had a Bible to read and a couple of C.S. Lewis books. And I read the Bible not from a religious standpoint, because I'm not very religious, but we were having this conversation before that I was reading it as a series of stories. And so these little lessons would come back to me, right? And when I got stabbed in the chest, the instant it went into my chest, because until that had happened, I was bulletproof. I thought I was bulletproof. When it went in, I'm like, okay, I'm not bulletproof. Not bulletproof anymore. And I thought to myself, the sins of the father, because my son was born that same week, the sins of the father born onto the children. Again, I'm not a preacher, I don't go to church that often, but that stuck with me, that my actions were now going to impact another human being, another life, right? And so our parents, whether they're trying to teach us good or they teach us bad, we're all absorbing lessons. And at that point in time, I realized, this life that I'm leading, it's my choice of what I'm going to do with it. It's my choice, right? And to understand that in that moment, my life became about more than me. And so those lessons are the ones that have really helped me the most in life, So I decided to get out of that lifestyle, went to work, did it was like $6 an hour, peeling logs, hand peeling the bark off of logs for log cabins for a period of time. And then I went to, working in something called a sump, where you're, basically shoveling garbage out of a sump. And then, went on and got my first business. I crashed my first business. Got my second business. I crashed my second business. Third one, I crashed my third business. And then I lost my mind, because I'm like, okay, what am I going to do, right? And at the end of those three, I ended up out here in Southern California. I was living on the beach, not too far away from here, and being fed by very amazing people, going to a homeless shelter, and somebody handed me Tony Robbins' book. And I took that book, and in it, I read it, and the thing that came to my mind was that it's personal responsibility. I was where I was, and think about this around this room and everybody that you come in contact with. That at that point in time, I looked and I read that book and I said, okay, the reason why I am where I am is because of the decisions that I'm making. Not because of where I came from, not because of my adopted father, not because of all that other stuff. It's because of my decisions. I was homeless because of the decisions I was making. I was in a bad position because of the decisions that I was making over and over and over again. And so at that moment, then I started to shift. There was a bunch of power. I ended up going to work for Tony Robbins. I ended up learning about business. I ended up learning about controlling my own destiny, about making better decisions, about challenging my own beliefs, about stopping blaming. And this is where I think we are in this world. If I could narrow it down to two groups of people. There's people who blame other people, and there's people who take personal responsibility, right? As long as you're blaming someone else, as long as it's somebody else's fault, whether it's who's the president of the United States, whether it's where I was born, whether it's the color of my skin, whether it's the sex I was born, I was born gay, I was born straight, as long as there's something outside of you that is to blame, you have given away your God-given talents to be able to change anything in your life. You've just handed it over. You've just given that and said, here's all of the beauty that I have inside of me, my potential, right? And that's really all we have, is our potential to become as good as we possibly can. I'm handing that to someone else when I choose to blame. And so that was powerful for me to understand that, in that, if I took that back, now I have the ability to be able to take this blank piece of paper that you're taking notes on, right? And to be able to create whatever it is that I want out of life. Whatever it is. And so I started to shift. It doesn't change right away. It's little, small decisions. But the clarity became, I want to have money. It was as simple as that. I want to have money because with money becomes decisions. It becomes options. It becomes this other ability that I don't have when I don't have any, right? I want to influence people. I want to be able to do these things. So one of the very first things, besides blame, once you understand that blame doesn't do anything but steal your thunder, steals your creativity, steals your ability, the second thing is trying to figure out, or taking those bad things in the room, just by show of hands. How many of you have had shitty things happen to you in your life, just by a show of hands? And those of you that aren't raising your hands, you'll lie about other things too. Okay? So the thing is, right, when you listen to speakers, it's like, oh, I want to tell you my poor me story. I want to tell you my poor me story. And then you sort of get like, sometimes it attaches, sometimes it doesn't. The challenge and the reason why these stories should impact is not for people to tell their story. I don't tell my story to tell my story. I tell my story to shift, to change, to let people know if somebody stupid as me can change their life and become and do something with it, then you can too. You're beautiful, you're smart, you have this community supporting you to be able to take your life to the next level, right? That's an amazing tool. And so taking those bad things, here was the magic for me, I was adopted, and this guy beat me up, and poor me, and I'm so sad, woohoo, I took that and I said, you know what that did? It created a monster. He created a monster of service where anything that hits me in this life, anything you can throw at me will bounce off. Why? Because someone who was supposed to love me beat the shit out of me as is every opportunity that you could possibly get. And I didn't die. And you can't stop me. So whatever that is, that was that crappy thing that happened to you in life, it's changing it. And going, you know what? That belongs to me. Not to you anymore, it belongs to me. And you choose to take that and shift it and make it your own so that it supports you. So that it's a vehicle that you can jump in and it's going to get you to your outcome. You feel how powerful that is? I just want you to think about that crappy thing just for a second and change it. Shift it. Shift the perspective, right? We're talking to amazing actors and producers and directors and all this kind of stuff. What they talk about is shifting and changing the emotion, the state that you're in. And they do it for us from screen. What I'm saying is, you shift that shit yourself. That's power. That's power. Is being able to take that movie screen or whatever it is that you've been playing that's been getting you the results that you're getting, and shift it. Change the degree. Change the lens. Change the story in and of itself. Because I went from poor me, of course I'm going to be a loser. I got called a loser my entire life. I had a daddy that didn't love me, boo-hoo, to I own this person in these shoes, and he's a badass. Again, not about me, but you are a badass. I feel the power just when you're out there speaking and I just go, ah! Yes! That's what we need. That's what we need. You can't shift stuff from, I don't know, it's not for me, I don't know, it's the government, and it's, I don't know, it's not, I can't do anything. When you go, right? You feel it? You feel it. And that doesn't come from outside. I don't need anybody's validation. You didn't need anybody's validation. You hoped your parents would support you. But I guarantee you wouldn't have gave a shit if they didn't. Right? That's what I'm talking about. You got to make whatever that vision is for you. You've got to step in. You've got to fill it. It's not up to nobody. Here's another thing that really helped me. Somebody said it from stage at some point in time. Nobody's coming to save you, Jason. What? Nobody's coming to save you. If you think about all the bad things and all of the security that everybody's trying to put on us for us to make decisions so that I will be more secure. So I will be more secure from the drug dealers. So I will be more secure from racists. So I will be more secure from people. Security is an illusion. And anytime we try to chase that, we are giving our power to those people who make us believe a lie. We're handing it to them. And we're saying, here, please protect me. Nobody's coming to save you. Did anybody come to save you when you had 3 babies in a car where you were homeless? Nobody came to save you. You had to step up. You had to make different decisions. You had to figure out whatever I got to do, I got to feed my babies by tonight. All of us have those stories. And so if I'm here for anything today, it's just a reminder of what you already know. That you have infinite power inside of you to be able to create whatever it is. I can tell you stories about the things that I've done, where I've been, all of the successes in life that would bore you to tears. But I will tell you that it has come down to, I spend as much of my time in philanthropy as I possibly can. And anytime you want to know how good you have it, jump into somebody else's life. I can tell you stories. We do and go undercover to do rescues of underage sex slaves in foreign countries. And you want to think about how hard you've had it. You want to think about why, and you walk in, and I'm saying some of these things graphically because I want it to leave a mark. When you walk in, and they're showing you 7-year-old little girls chained to a bed that has no mattress on it, and it's just metal, chained there, so that someone could take advantage of them 6 and 7 times a night for $60 a time. You know that you are why I'm here, why I do the things that I do. I could be doing anything I want to do, but I'm here talking to you. I go out and I talk anywhere that I possibly can because it's us that are going to step up and save those people and those little girls and those little boys around the world that need somebody to step up and stop worrying about themselves so much and stop worrying about all the bull crap that everybody tells us to worry about and start serving because you have the power. I apologize for yelling. I get a little worked up. All you got to do is step into somebody that's got it worse than you into their life. And you stop worrying about if the right friends like me, if I'm driving the right car, if I live in the right neighborhood. There's people who need us. Feed a Billion is another organization that I'm the CEO of. Feed a Billion is around finding those people out in the world that are dying, literally, not from hunger-related diseases, but from hunger, from literally dying of not having enough food. When we live in a day and age where that is an idiotic premise, it's an idiotic premise that anybody goes to bed at night with a hungry stomach, that then causes some of the things that we're talking about. Where women that have 2 or 3 children have to make a decision of whether to sell one so that the other 2 will eat. Domestic violence, another area that I spend my life in. Because of my mom, that was my origin story, protecting. I do all of that because I can. I had to make money to be able to back that up. I had to be able to make money so that I could be influential positions, to be able to come here and not care what you think about me, but to hear my words. I don't care what you think of me. But you can't ignore my voice. And that's what we need more of. What I've noticed in the Latino community is that sometimes that we step back and we take it. Because we should be quiet. We should be out of the limelight. We shouldn't step up. We shouldn't stand out. What I'm saying is you got to stand up. You got to be counted. I don't care how young you are. You are making a difference in the world. And how old are you? You're 17. 17. How old? 13? There you go. See? If you start now, how much of the world can you change? But you got to come at it from the right mindset. That's what I would say is that coming at it from the right mindset means owning your own state of energy. It means understanding that it's nobody else's fault, that nobody's coming to rescue you, that there's nobody that can control your life more than the person that stares at you in that mirror every day. Nobody. 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 It's you. It's you we need. So I'm going to close out in a kind of a cool, fun way. Yeah, I'm going to. I'm not asking anybody's permission. Okay, everybody stand up, just really quick. Everybody stand up. All right, cool. So what we're talking about is controlling that state, being able to put yourself in that position. And sometimes, we practice hiding so many times. We practice being quiet. We practice keeping our mouths shut so much that we get really good at it. And so anytime, when's the last time you guys really celebrated? When was the last time you really celebrated? Somebody tell me. Yeah? Okay? Whatever it was, right? Whatever it was. And we end up with most of our time we're spent here. Don't stand out too much. Do not make too much noise. Don't move around. Don't draw attention to yourself, because that's where you get in trouble, right? Is when you draw too much attention to yourself. I'm just saying, if we lived outside of that box, if we challenged authority a little bit more, if we were out there and we love and we were able to just try things, to twist things, to do things for the right reason, to stop blaming, to start taking things to the next level, if we did that just a little more every single day, who knows what you could become? Because I was beat down. I was in that position. I watched my mom go from this box of a human being that had gotten her ass beat for her entire life and then start blossoming. And if you meet my mom today, she's a badass herself. Because of these ideals. Because yes, you can beat you down. You can take everything you have. You can take your home. You can take your reputation. You can take everything away from you, but they cannot take who you are. They can't take away that little girl young woman that was out there standing in front of that crowd. They can't take that from you, no matter what they try to do. And I've seen that spirit in 7- and 8-year-old little girls that just shouldn't be in that position. I've seen it in their eyes, and if they can keep that spirit going on, what about you? What excuses do we have? So all I want you to do, just for a couple seconds, shake it out. All I want you to do for about 5-6 seconds here is play along with me. You can go back to being boring ass adults later, okay? But right now, let's play a little bit. And let's play with the state that you would have to be in to change the world. How would you stand? How would you stand? Oh, I like that. Okay? How would you stand? What thoughts would you start to think? When you had to overcome that, when you're buried, when you have those 3 little girls in that car, what were you thinking? What were you thinking?
I was thinking exactly what you said. No one was going to come and save me. I had to do something. I had to get myself out of that mess.
Yeah.
And I had to not give up on myself.
Yeah.
I asked myself, how did I get there? And I had to face the reality that it was my decisions that brought me there.
Yeah.
I had to become accountable for that.
But what energy did you have? Was it like, I don't know.
It was fierce. It was just
it's
a fierce energy.
It's a great word. It's a great word. Okay? Let's use that word. So all I want you to do for 5 seconds is on the count of 3. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and I want you to go, I am fierce. I am fierce. I am fierce 3 times. Okay? 3 times. That's it. But here's the thing. You have to give it everything you've got. You have to give it everything you got. Because if you don't, your kids starve. Because if you don't, you live a life that wasn't intended for you, that you don't see for yourself. Because if you don't learn to come out of this box, whatever it is that you're looking for is not going to happen. You're in a group of people that love you and that care about you and are here to support you. Okay? So on the count of 3, I am fierce, I am fierce, I am fierce. I want to hear it. Y'all ready?
Yes.
I am so unconvinced. Okay, are you ready? Yes. Much better, right, John?
Yes.
All right, so on the count of 3, here we go. I am fierce, I am fierce, I am fierce. 1, 2, 3.
I am fierce! I am fierce! I am fierce!
Okay, give yourselves a round of applause. Little bit of feedback. You guys want some coaching? Okay, here's what I saw. I'm just going to give you a little coaching. Some people were like, I am fierce. I am fierce. I am fierce. When is this crap going to get over? You know? How you do anything is how you do everything. Okay? How you do anything is how you do everything. And if I'm looking at you and in this environment, you're deathly afraid to have a little fun, where else is that showing up in your life? Where else are you not stepping up? Where else are you thinking? Let me give you a big secret. One of the loneliest and most freeing moments of my life was when Tony Robbins looked me in the eyes and he said, Jason, nobody's thinking about you. Nobody's thinking about you. And I thought to myself, yes, they are. My mama loves me. And he goes, yes, but how often is she really thinking about you? And I went, not very often. He goes, what is she thinking about? About her own life, right? Which is the natural state for all of us. Is we're doing the best we can with what we've got. No matter what we've been handed, we're doing the best we can with what we've got. And I thought, wow. And I get goosebumps when I think about that moment for me, because it was like, I felt really lonely for a second. And then I thought, nobody's thinking about me. What could I do with this world if all of the energy that I went into thinking about, everybody's thinking about what Jason's doing? What, oh, he's going bald. Like, all of the, nobody gives a shit. It's amazing. Think about that for you just 1 second. Nobody's thinking about you. And I know some of the actors are like, you don't watch the blogs and stuff, I gotta watch my step. Well, here's what I would say. The more fearless you are, the more it just rolls off your back. Because at the end of the day, even the stuff that people say negatively about us is about them. Has nothing to do with us. You have to be sad for somebody who's sitting in their grandmother's basement. I don't like your hair. You're rich people. You're so white, you're so Mexican, so black, so gay, so straight. There's a lot of that shit going on. And I think to myself, how bad does somebody have to feel? Because those of us that are busy, we don't have time for that. Even if I'm pissed at somebody, I'm like, I don't have time to go online and yell at them. I don't have time because I'm doing stuff. So you could be that person or you could be that person, right? Which one are you going to be? Everybody says, well, it's easier to be in that basement doing nothing. I would like to say or suggest that if you're that person, you die 1,000 deaths. And if you're out here living the life that you've chosen to lead and that we've chosen to lead from out front, we die but once. That's a famous saying. You can look it up. I don't know who it is, so I won't attribute them right now. But for today, it was Jason Sisneros. Okay, so I tell you all of that to say, if you played at a level 3 or 4 during this little exercise, where else is that affecting you? I also want to call you to a higher degree of interaction. Because nobody's thinking about you. Nobody cares how you look. Nobody cares what you're about to do. This is for you. It's for you. If this was the catalyst, if this one moment you were able to go back in your mind and look at this one moment as that opportunity for the tattooed bald dude in the front that was acting insane, standing on a couple of chairs, was able to shift me from being one of those to being one of these, what would you do? What would that mean to your life? How much of a difference would it make? What would you do differently for your family? What would you be? Would your name end up being written in the history books? Nobody's stopping you. It's one thing I know for sure, that if I ever had any prejudice, if I ever had any doubt, if I ever thought that one person was more endowed than another, I don't believe that anymore. I've been around the world. I've seen it too many times. Well, if I had money, I would be more successful. You know how many people have money and are miserable? So many. So all I want you to do, just for a second, step outside of whatever that box is that you've been in, that you've let dictate your life and your activities to this point. And just let it out. Just for 5 seconds. Just for 5 seconds. Okay? At the top of your lungs. Let's get the cops in here. You know? which by the way, 25 agencies, all of which had probably chased me at one time in my life. I thought that was pretty cool. I'm getting an award in front of you fuckers, you know? Yeah, they've had me up against a car like this multiple times. But anyways, I love them now. If there's any law enforcement in there. It's just such a funny flip of the world. But anyway, all right. So at the count of 3, we're going to go, I am fierce, I am fierce, I am fierce. And I want to see it in your face. Spit flying out of your mouth. You know, whatever it takes, just get into that space. Because, I mean, if I'm I've never been an actor before, but I would venture to say that they will tell you that puts you in the place where you can then portray this other person. This other person, you've got to get clear with who that is. Is it you with a Superman cape on? Is it you with the Wonder Woman suit on? Whatever that is, whoever that person is, but you've sat and in your moments of not believing all the bullshit that the world has told you, that you're not capable, that you don't have the talent, that you don't have the background, that you don't have any of that, if you're those moments where you go, I can do anything, that person is what I want you to step into right now. That person is who I want you to be. Because you know her or him, because it is you. And all of the other weight and all of the other bullshit and the other lies that you've been told your entire life that have caused you to not step into that human being, put it aside for just a second. For just a second. You guys ready?
Yes.
I don't need the word. She says, warn me. I'm not warning you. Here's what I want you to do is wake up like this. I don't need warning. Okay? I don't need warning. I'm a badass when I wake up. I go to sleep. I'm badass in my I dream like a badass. That's what I'm talking about. Nobody has to warn you. You ready? Yeah! That's a little better. Okay, on the count of 3. On the count of 3, ready? 1, 2, 3.
I'm fierce! I'm fierce! I'm fierce!
Okay. Here's what again, feedback and coaching. All right? What I got was some people started taking it to the next level, like, ah! Ah! And then some of you were like, this is great. Can we get to the next speaker, please? This is annoying me. And it kind of was around the room. One more time. I can see you. You can't hide from me. I see you. Okay? all I want you to do is let it go. Okay? Shake it out. Shake it out. Everybody, let me just see you shake it out just a little bit. Shake it out. Wiggle it around just a little bit. All right. Okay. On the count of 3, as much as you have inside of you, one time, everything you've got. 1, 2, 3. That's it. I got it. That's all I got. I want to close on this one idea. If it's in your mind to do it, please do it. I need you to. The world needs you to. We're in a place where we must have leaders. Leaders that step up, that don't see the bull crap on the right and the left because they're liars. There's no reason. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican or a Mexican or a white or black or whatever it is. We have a lot of shit in common. And anytime we listen to the voices of division, they're there for a reason. They're there to separate us for their own power and influence and money. Any message outside of the fact that you and I should love each other, that we should hold each other, that we should support each other, that we should look for people that are weaker than us to lift them up, any message that's outside of that is a bald-faced lie. And we have to be the ones that come together around the idea that we're all one people. And I don't mean that in a bullshit way. I literally mean we are one person. I love you. Thank you.